Okay, so I pulled the rear brakes off, and this is what I found. She's wet in here. You can see in there where the rear axle seals are leaking. So I want to do the brake job, and I want to do the rear axle seals. This side's definitely leaking. This side's not as bad, but she's wet in there too. So may as well do both. So I figured, well, now's a good chance to show you how we do that as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the rear brakes, the shoes. I'm going to do the wheel cylinders, and then I'll also do the axle seals. So what I was thinking is I'll pull these axles, and then I can show you how to do the brakes with the axle out of the way. Probably be a little easier to see what's going on. And I'll show you how to pull this the rear axles too. So first thing you want to do is you want to pull this rear cover off. So in my case it's 12 bolts on this 66 Chevy half-ton. 12 half-inch bolts. Pull those off. Set that aside. Inside here now, try and get you set up. See my Tim Hortons cup down there. Okay. I think we'll get you pretty good. Something like that. So inside here, you can turn this down like this, and this is your pinion shaft retaining bolt. In my case, it's a 1/2 inch. It just popped right off, no problem. Obviously I'd pop that off with a wrench beforehand. And then inside here, you can see this shaft here. So these axles cannot slide in to get the cannot slide in to get the clips off with this pin in there. So we have to get the pin out first. All right. So I'll just slide that pin out, just like that. That's her there. I'm going to set her up here for now. Now, hoping you can see that in there. I'm going to go after this one first. So I'm just going to reach behind me here. I'm going to push the axle in. Okay. So there's a clip right there. Just came right off the axle. Okay, now let's do the other one. Oh. And it popped off too. Okay. Now, I like to put this shaft back in at this point. It's not really necessary. But the reality is, with that pin out, you do run the risk of your spider gear is all kind of falling out of it. With the pin back in, nothing's going anywhere. I can spin this thing wherever I want. It's going to stay put. But at the same time, I can now pull out my axles. Let's just throw that down. Boom. Just like that. We got her out. In case you're wondering, I'll just grab these clips. In case you couldn't see it in there. This is what the end looks like. And that's how the clip sits on there. Just like that. And it sits inside a pocket when it's pulled back so that the clip can't go anywhere. And that shaft sits in there. But with the shaft out, you can push it in, clip comes out, and then axle pulls. Oh, that's clear as mud for you. So I'm going to set those guys there. And let me get set up. I'll clean that up a bit. I'll take a better look at what we're up against before I clean it. Just some nastiness. Then we'll get the rear brakes done. For those of you kind of looking for just an orientation of how these brakes look, remember your primary shoe, that's your big shoe, goes to the back. If you like big butts like I do, just remember the business end always to the back. Go to the back. And that's always where all the good stuff is too. So the primary shoe goes to the rear of the vehicle, whether we're talking front brakes or rear brakes, whether we're talking passenger side or driver's side, primary shoe to the rear. That's also where all the business happens too. So you got your adjuster here, your park brake attaches here, all that good stuff happens over here. And then your smaller shoe, secondary, sits up front. And it doesn't have quite so much stuff going on, as you can see. So big shoe to the back and all the business to the back. So if you're looking for orientation, here's your adjuster down here. This one, as you can see, is adjusted out pretty far. See how far out it's screwed out? You have all your business here. This is for your park brake or emergency brake. And then here's your secondary shoe. I'll just give you a quick little how do you do there. And I'm going to go yank the other axle. I'll get that side cleaned up. I don't even know if I got room to pull that axle out, to be honest. Kind of up against the cupboard over there. But anyway, I'll go see what I can do, and I'll come back once we get this cleaned up. Okay, I should mention, if you're going to take your drum off initially and it's stuck on there, typically what's going on is the brakes are adjusted out too far. So what you can do is take a pick, reach in here, pull back on the stop, and then roll the adjuster back, you know, whichever way it needs to go. So in this case, I know it's hard to understand just by looking at this, but you roll this down to the bottom, and then I'll give you a peek on the inside, what's actually going on here. What you want to do is you want to take your pick with a little hook like this through there, and you want to pull this back. Because what happens is this will turn this way, but it won't turn back. So you won't be able to unadjust it, which is what you need to do this way, unless you pull this back. So you'll pull that back, and then using the drum, you'll have leverage to spin this guy, and in turn that will spin this in, and it'll bring the shoes in. That's pretty much all there is to that. You gotta go ahead and start disassembly. You do not need to pull this seal unless you're actually doing axle seals like I am. But I am doing axle seals, so I do want to pull this guy out of here. And It's just a cheap little seal puller from the parts store, you know, Harbor Freight, Princess Auto, if you're up here in Canada. So yeah, bearing looks pretty good yet. So I'm going to start on this side. As you can see, I don't know if you can see that, but the last spring on is this spring. So that means it's going to be the first spring off. So we do have some brake tools here. This is what they call a spoon. It's basically just for adjusting this guy. I also have, where are we going now? Well, I have this guy here. I use this for putting springs on and off. I don't really use this end at all. But this one here is nice for getting them off and on, and same as this guy here. And see how beat up that is. I use it quite a bit. One sec. Oh, right here. And then there's this guy here for holding the retainer on the nails. You don't really need to have that. You don't need to have any of this. You can just use some needle nose will work as well. But of all of them, this is, to me, this is the most useful. You can get this at Princess Auto or Harbor Freight. It's very inexpensive. I think it's just called a brake tool. Slip that guy up on there. Oh, she's going to be too yucky. Let's get her cleaned up first. Okay, so let's see if we can't, and maybe we can't, which is okay too. Just get up onto her with this guy. And she's gonna go kaboom. All right, and now we'll go after this guy here. You don't want to go either. That guy off. Okay, so we got these guys. So just reach back and hold the nail with your finger. And sometimes they just don't want to play nice. There we go. So you can see what's going on there. That's got a flat edge like that. Slips through here. Just like that, and then turns like that. We're not going to reuse any of this stuff. Your small end goes into the shoe side. Okay, and then let's go over here. Definitely use this guy now. This guy up here. Come on, you. Of course. As soon as the camera's rolling, right? Somebody don't know how to do anything anymore. Okay. We'll take this guy off here. So, this is our spreader bar here. It's just filthy. How dirty that is. Clean that up. This is our adjuster, and this one is locked up tighter than it's locked up pretty tight. I'll just leave it at that, but we'll clean this up and we'll get her back in there. A little wire wheel, some sort of a penetrating lube, and we'll lube her up. Afterwards, it'll be fine. But yeah, right now I can't even move that. We'll get that cleaned up and we'll put some penetrating oil on there. This guy here, it's important when you put this spring on the bottom that you orientate it right, because you can see how it sits to the adjuster there. So if you put that on wrong, you're up against your adjuster, you're going to have a bad day. But if you put it on right, you clear the adjuster and it'll be fine. Okay, so let's go over to this side here. Not a lot of spring tension on this one. This one was pretty bad actually. That spring just completely shot. Down here, so that actually goes with our wheel cylinder. We'll be changing that too. And down here, you can see there's an E-clip. That's this guy right here. I don't know if you can see that. This guy right here, it's an E-clip. Normally your hardware kit comes with a new E-clip. I haven't opened mine yet, but even if it doesn't, I have that stuff. But we'll just knock that off there. We'll hold on to it in case I'm wrong, but I think I'm right anyway. I guess we all do. Okay. So this guy goes back to our e-brake. We can actually just leave it there for now. And then down here we have this assembly. So you can take this spring off. And again, I do have another hardware kit, so I do have another spring. But you never know. Always best to hold on to stuff just in case. Come on. Okay, so we have that off, and then this is our primary shoe. This is at the back, and you can always Okay, so we got her cleaned up. I swapped out the wheel cylinder for a new one. Took this little guy off, cleaned it up, pulled that seal out, took this off and cleaned it up. If you don't know how that comes off, just pull that spring back and she pops right out of there, just like that. That's for the park brake or e-brake. Okay, so I think we're gonna get back at it here. So get you set up and we'll start throwing some brakes at it. I went and picked up the axle seal. So we got that as well. We'll throw that on first, just to have it out of the way. I know a lot of guys like to put in a little silicone or what have you. I'm not one for that. So I'm just gonna sit that there. I got this socket. It's a little bit smaller than the seal, and we'll just tap her in. Should go, no problem. Looking good. No fuel when she doesn't want to go anymore. And what I like to do is just kind of chase it around. And that's all good there. I usually put a little bit of grease in here. I'll do that before we slide the axle seal in. But yeah, that feels good. Just leave that right like that. And we'll get to putting these brakes on. So, let's just try and get all our goodies out here. Okay, so first thing we want to do is figure out which brakes go where. So here I have a set of brakes. You can see that they're the same, but one has more pad surface area. See that? So same on the bottom. This one's a little more on top. That's going to be my rear. That's going to be the guy I start with. So let's go ahead and we'll start with that guy. So if you remember, this guy went up here and up here at the top. And of course he doesn't want to fit through there. I'm gonna go get a file, clean that real quick. We'll get that in there. Oh. There we go. Okay, our little E-clip right on here. Okay. Get that out of the way. I think I'm gonna go clean this guy up real quick. This guy here. How's it going? Okay. So we'll take this guy here. This guy goes in here. This guy goes. That one don't fit in there so good. These guys fit in here so good. There we go. So we'll take our nail and we'll stick it through the back. Get this guy on here. Oh. Hold on, putting the horse before the buggy here. So at this point we get quite a bit going on. Okay. So there's that guy. I would say oh. Sure. Okay, so where are we here? Let's get going again. All right, so let's take a quick look here. Battery died as I was just buttoning up this last part here. So we got this in here. We got our spreader bar in there. We got all of our springs hooked back up again. So this is how this works. It goes down, it spreads it apart, away we go. I do have it lined up with the drum, so it just barely drags. At this point, we're ready to put our axle back in. So we'll just slide that guy in there like so. And be nice and careful over our seal. And we'll slip that into the gear. There it goes. And she's almost through all the way. So right now she's up against that pin in the diff. But when we're done, we'll go in and we'll pull that pin, push it in a little bit further. We'll put in our clip and then pull it back again so we can get the bar in. That pretty much wraps it up. So that's this side. I'm going to go do the same thing on the other side, and then we'll put this guy back together again. We'll give her a go here. So we got them both ready to go. Just going to throw this back in. So pull out that pin retainer there. And pop this guy out. Maybe I'll bring you up here. Might be easier. Okay. See the axle there? Right there? So I'm going to take a clip. Try and one-handedly put it in there. Okay, see, I just kind of slid it on there. Now I'm just going to pull the axle back. And that'll be fine, just like that. Now let me do the other one. So I'm just going to push the axle in. Hope you can see that. And I'll grab the clip. Slide the clip on and push the axle back. Okay, axles pushed back both sides. That guy's too far. Oh, shit. Okay, that guy's kind of back where it needs to be. Get the pin back in, tightened up, and we'll be done. And then it's just a matter of putting this cover back on. Pretty straightforward stuff at that point. Always best to use a new gasket, and don't be afraid to put some adhesive on there, silicone, whatever will be best. Okay, so you see everything's working fine there. I will get the gasket done up on there, put this thing up, and then we'll put some fluid in it.